So I hope you can hear me on this rant, if you will, this little short rant. I'm probably going to go on. I think it's going to be a short rant because yesterday uh, I went on a long rant. I would call it an extended rant, and I don't want to be going on extended rants, man. This should be short. So basically, this is just a thought on, the human eye. The human eye is a very, very special thing. Um, Not just the human eye. There's all type of eyes. Animals have eyes, obviously. Insects have eyes. Things have eyes, and your eyes work a certain way. Now, me, I have very, very poor eyesight. Now, you can clearly see my glasses, right? And you can clearly see that. Well, actually, maybe not. I mean, if you knew me outside of hearing me rant, you would know that I have really, really bad eyesight. Um, But even with having bad eyesight, the amazing thing about the way that a human's eye is designed is often very small movement. I can track something very small. Like it could be a insect, it could be a plant, it could be I mean I'm talking about without my glasses. With them obviously my eyesight's good. But without them I could even track a person potentially turning their eyes in my direction looking at me from very far, which is surprising because you'd think that with a bad eyesight that you couldn't see that. Now sometimes I can't see that. Sometimes I can't. But what's so surprising is that sometimes I can. So I'm saying all this to say that the human eye is a very precious thing, and it's a very very intricate, delicate thing. But it's very powerful. It's a very powerful sense. Um, And the thing about, what's interesting about the eye is your eye can look at things in different ways. Like you can look at something and focus on it, or you could look at it with your peripheral vision. What you're doing is you're really not looking at anything. You're looking through everything, and then you pick up movement in shapes that are around. Like it could be what I find incredibly surprising sometimes is where when I don't really have anything to focus on, so I'm basically not looking at anything. How I'll see like a tiny little gnat, It reminds me of this video where there was like a gorilla, and the gorilla was sitting there, and there was like a little. It could have been a bug. People said it was a ghost on the camera, but honestly, I don't know. I think maybe it was just a bug. Um, and no one else. I guess the people didn't catch it, but the gorilla caught it. You could tell the gorilla's eyes were following it, and that often happens to me. Like I won't be looking for anything, and then the tiniest little, what I don't understand is like, how do I see the tiniest little bug that just happens to move somewhere close to where I am, or like maybe a little bit in the distance? And it's so weird how my eyes literally are so instinctively ready to track something that moves, so they see a small bug, and it's like, not even with thinking, somehow I can just see that bug so so clear, and it's a tiny little bug. Um, so this also is going to allude to like how, you know, the more time you spend out in nature, and the more time you actually train your spatial awareness, situational awareness, um, even when you're training like self-defense, like when you're sparring or you're training something, it could be a knife defense, it could be some type of weapon defense like sticks, generic things that people pick up to use as a weapon. When you use your peripheral vision, when you're sparring with that person, you're training, your eyes, that same those same habits that your eyes just have to be so sharp. And I don't mean clarity. I mean the way how quick they can pick up movement or pick up postures. That's more so really what you're picking up when you're training in a self-defense based way, like that's your eyes really pick up posture and movement. They pick up how fast something's coming at you. They pick up how the person's posture is, and they also pick up your like range, like how close are you in proximity to someone, and they also pick up what's the I think one of the best things is trajectory. Your eyes. I was telling someone about before about how sometimes when someone throws something at you, you know you don't have to move because you can tell that their posture is off, and you can tell that the trajectory at which the object is going to come at you is off, so you may not even move because you know you have a developed enough sense to know it's not even gonna, like they're not even close. You know, kind of like how sometimes you can tell what someone is looking at. Like you can look at a driver, you can look at a person, and you can tell what they're looking at because that's where that type of training comes into play. Um, so it's a learned skill, but it's not just a learned skill. It's actually an innate primal ability. That's an ability that like toddlers and babies have, whether they realize it or not, or animals have. Animals just tend to be much, much more sharper because they're just so wiry and so active. Like cats, for instance. Cats chase butterflies. I chase butterflies, because that actually is a natural human thing. Like when you see something moving, it just tends to, some people are less athletic and they're really not so athletically, what's the word, apt, I guess, or they're not drawn to things like that. It doesn't invoke a primal response in them, but with me it does. um, so the thing is, a human eye and an eye in general plays a lot into how you interact with your environment and how you are wired and what you see. You know what I mean? Like what you actually see. It's like some people can see, they see a bird about to take off, and they could simply just tell by the bird's posture what trajectory that bird's going to go in. Some people, they're way slower. They wouldn't see that. They have no clue where the bird is going to go. Their reflexes are very slow as well. Um, and the thing about thing about the eye is the eye can be tricked. This is one of the reasons why when people do what is it? They call it magic, but it's really illusion. Like some people are illusionists and they do sleight of hand. Now, they can sometimes show you a trick and they will break down how they tricked you with the sleight of hand. Now, but some people would be able to see certain things. Sometimes it's damn near impossible. But what I'm saying is sometimes some people, they know where to look and what to look at. Like for instance, if someone's trying to talk to you and you can tell that they're asking you for something and they make some type of excuse to touch you, to take your mind off of something, to possibly take your watch or take whatever, like a pickpocket type of thing. See, if you know where to look or what to look for, or you know to by no means let them get a certain range, it's that principle. You basically shut certain things down. Um, because the thing is, there's a pattern. It's the same thing with when you're sparring. If you know someone always not necessarily switches their stance, but they always go right to left, right to left. Like the way they hit with whatever, it could be with their fists, their knees, their shins, whatever, elbows. You know that their pattern is more so, um, they don't really set up anything. They don't feint. They don't like do a feint and then try to like make an opening to get you to react a certain way and then come in with a certain type of strike. Let's say they just go right to left, either right to left, regardless, elbow, knee, right to left, right to left. So you get that pattern. It could even just be like, let's say, you could be sparring the person for maybe like a couple minutes. You know what I mean? And if they don't change up that pattern, you're gonna read that pattern. You know what I mean? Unless you're someone who has never done any martial arts for like at all, or maybe never been in any type of fight, or anything, or never even rough towels or anything, or you have no athletic prowess at all, maybe you just maybe you would not read that pattern at all, at all. You know what I mean? Um, I think instinctively you would probably move your body out the way. Like if you didn't try to block, you would literally try to move your entire body out the way. That's what you think naturally a person would try to do, even if they have the most horrible footwork and they don't really know how to do it. Um, Instinctively, people's eyes and bodies, just like animals, move a certain way. They know patterns. Okay. Um, but this rant is about how, and this is the reason why my eyes fascinate me. The way they function is because they're so um, honestly they're so crucial to they're so such a crucial sense in organ. They're incredibly crucial. But what surprises me is the way they can function sometimes without you even trying. You know, it's a pretty amazing thing. You know what I mean? So, and this video is not going to be no tutorial about how to train your eyes for anything. It's not going to be a self-defense tutorial because for me to show you anything like that, I'd have to have another person or more than one person or whatever, and a camera, not a webcam. But this is just a rant about, you know, because it's funny because often at the laundry mat's always where I catch these little bugs, these little flies and stuff usually, um, that come into a certain range. And then another thing I have to add is I don't want to keep this too long, but when it's funny how your eyes can see something really tiny like a gnat, and you can follow it just like a cat does. You can keep following it for a time, but then there comes a time where it's going to make a movement so sharp and go into a distance to where you lose sight of it, and it's hard for you to really even pinpoint where it is because it's so small. Because your pupil's only so big, you know what I mean? You can only your eyes only have a certain amount of capability, regardless of who you are. So once it gets off a certain distance and it makes a certain pattern and you completely lose track of it, you may be able to track it again. Um, but it's very difficult. You know what I mean? And that in itself is a trained thing. You know, tracking anything is anything. I mean, even if you're shooting with a gun, like you're shooting something, your eyes play a part. You know what I mean? Before you even draw a gun, your eyes play a part. You know what I mean? With anything, a knife, a gun, anything, any type of weapon, your hand, your fist, anything. Because, for instance, you could look at something and miss, but you looked at it first. You know what I mean? You could use your peripheral and try to hit something and miss, but you saw it first. You didn't do it with your eyes closed. Is what I'm trying to say. You know. So that is, and I will say there are some martial arts, really, actually not many, but there's one in particular that I'm familiar with that they do focus a lot on eyesight. Just like, for instance, there is a point in your eyesight where there's blind spots, and you could be looking at someone with your peripheral, and if they hit from a certain angle, a certain way, it's very hard for you to read that still. And actually, the truth of the matter, as a fighter, what you really want to do as a fighter is you want to be accurate with your hits, and you want to exploit that. Like you want someone because you know they say the hit you don't see is the one that usually knocks you out. I'm telling you that's the truth. So that's what you want to exploit that and cultivate that. So that's just a little piece I just had to throw in there. So that's my short rant. This rant is about eyes, and I really just ranted about this because I don't know. I just want to keep the YouTube algorithm going and just put content out. I guess even if it's BS, not BS, but it's garbage. Is in it could be more interesting. It could be more entertaining. It can have more people in it, but I can't because nobody wants to do anything but me. So you know, that's my rant for the day, and have a good one.